The following is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 2 of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes. Guys, I am still the second part of that statement. This week, I'm interviewing Jon Rosado. He's a great friend of mine. We went to high school together, and now we're making music together. He's the guitarist of Mike Valdes and the Noise, and he is also the guitarist and singer of his own band, The Next Best Thing, which is great. We got into some really fun stuff in this interview, and of course, we get to do the really fun cereal reviews. I really think that you guys are going to enjoy this one. So enjoy, Jon Rosado. Well, we started, so...
Beautiful.
Hi, everybody. This is Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes. Hey, guys, guess what? I'm Mike Valdes, and today I have a very special guest, one of my closest friends, Jon Rosado. What's going on, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very good. I just woke up.
Okay. Yeah, I came here very early in the morning, but we're getting this done, and it's going to be awesome. So, Jon... First thing we like to do here at Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes is, before I ask you your first question, we like to take a Flintstones vitamin. These are the Flintstones Complete Gummies with extra fiber, so if you have diarrhea or poo-poo problems, got you covered, bud.
I'm good.
So go ahead and have a Flintstones vitamin. You can let us know which one you have.
Ooh, Rockstar. I got Fred.
Okay, cool.
Fun fact, I've only had the hard ones. I've never had the gummies.
Really?
Yeah.
They're just as bad, so...
This is new territory for me, right? Here we go.
There we go.
Cheers.
So, as you're chewing that, can you tell me about where you grew up?
Yeah. Grew up in South Florida, Miami Lakes.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the same school for 12 years. My mom was the principal.
Yeah.
And, I don't know.
She was the elementary principal, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved elementary school, middle school, high school. I didn't have any major problems.
Yeah.
For the most part, it was pretty good. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we actually went to the same high school.
We did.
Which is really fun, because I think for the first time I'm going to have a guest where we can talk about a lot of the things that I grew up doing. Like, nobody understood, like, oh, you had to go to chapel once a week, and like you were only allowed to listen to Christian music, and you know, things like that. Like, everyone, it's almost like, what's really funny is, like, at least for me, and I'm sure for you as well, like, our rebellion is really, like, tame to normal people.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, to normal people, they're like, oh, you didn't see Harry Potter until you were 25? And it's like, yeah, because that was the only time I was old enough to not be with my parents.
Yeah. My rebellion's like, screw you, Mom, I'm playing Pokemon.
Screw you, Mom. I'm getting a Pikachu, dude. Yeah, it's funny that, like, the Pokemon movie came out that recently, and I went to go see it. Like 5th grade me would have been like, oh man, you're so lucky.
That's funny. I remember being a kid at summer camp at our school called Dude Christian.
Yeah.
And I traded like $25
right
for a Game Boy game. It was like Pokemon Pinball.
Okay.
And my mom found out and flipped her lid.
Oh, no.
Flipped out. I went back to the camp. I had to ask the kid for my money back and give him the game back.
Oh, no.
I remember, like, that was the first time I'd ever, like... I remember getting caught.
Did the kid have the money?
Yeah, like $25.
Yeah, but even still, dude, like when I was
a
kid,
day.
You gave me $25, it was gone in an hour.
Yeah.
You know, like...
I mean...
I would go and buy all the snacks from the vending machine or something.
The vending machine.
You know, and throw Ritz Bits at all the kids.
Dunkaroos.
Yeah.
No, he had it, so...
Man.
It was fun. And I played the game for a day. It wasn't that great of a Pokemon game, so...
Of course not.
It was an even trade. He held my money.
Yeah, it's a pinball game, ultimately. So, like... Yeah. And a pinball game on Game Boy at best. So, it's, like, not amazing.
Yep.
So, like, we were talking last night about, like, some of, like, the things that we grew up, you know, watching. Like, what was the first, like, I guess, like, fandom or, like, things that you became, like, really obsessed with as a kid?
Fandom is a really good word, too.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing that always comes to mind when I think about movies and my childhood or
Right.
fandom is Free Willy.
Sure, the best fandom.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love that movie?
Hold me like a river joy.
100%. Because at the end of the VHS, there
Yeah.
was the Michael Jackson music video.
Yeah.
And
Where
again,
he would turn into a killer whale.
I'm not sure about that, but I remember when he's like...
Well, they pretty much, like he would, like, sprawl out like our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Yep.
And the dancers would pick him up.
that was the one thing I remember when he's like, lift me up, hold me up, lift me up.
Lift me up! I said lift me up!
And they did it. And I was like,
They
"Geez,
did. They
he's
quite
got-
literally lifted him up.
That was a flex of his. So you could just walk into the mall and be like, lift me up, hold me up.
That's so funny, dude. Oh my gosh. That VHS was the best.
It was good, but I remember like, damn, that kid got to swim
Yeah.
with a killer whale.
Right.
I want to swim with, like, and still to this day, like, if someone offered me the opportunity, like, I've seen Blackfish, I would still roll the dice.
Yeah.
And also be like, all right, let's see what happens. And if it's my time, it's my time.
Well, I mean, you gotta think, I mean, granted, when I was a kid, I was like, man, killer whales are the best. But at the same time, the older I got, I was like, well, they call them killer whales for a reason, right? Like, it
Yeah.
has to be because they kill things.
Yeah, it'd be,
So-
I mean, I was canoeing and I saw dolphins and I was like, yo, those things are big.
Of course.
So I can't imagine seeing a killer whale face to face in a body of water where you're not the dominant one.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sure that it must have been, like, at least the first couple of days for that kid that played Jesse, he must have been like, this is a bit much. You know? Because,
maybe.
like, you have to imagine...
at the same time, though, they probably didn't even, like, whoever knew the information
Sure.
didn't share it.
Yeah, that's true.
He's like, yo, it's just a big dog.
That's true.
Get in there, earn me money.
I mean, at the end of the day, they treat the whale like it is a big dog.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because that was that the first of the animal movies? Because the
It's
90s was like, you got an animal, put it in a movie. Like...
Ferret, put it in a movie.
Yeah, it's true. Like,
Porcupine.
they had talking ferrets and talking... Polly
Yeah.
was a talking parrot. I mean, they
that
had
one.
everything. Like,
Yeah, well, I believe Flipper was earlier than that. That was a
that's
TV
true.
show.
Yeah, that was older than
They had Flipper.
my dad. Which is
But
pretty old.
either way, I remember that one being like, damn.
Yeah.
I want to swim with a killer whale. I want it. Because I was also a husky kid, and I was like,
Yeah.
they're not going to put me on a horse, but they'll put me on that whale.
Yeah,
Like, I
that's
can
true.
do that.
Yeah, that whale's not gonna do. not gonna be like, whoa, that's a little much.
Yeah.
And even then, you're underwater, so like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a big kid, being underwater is awesome because you're only 10 pounds.
Yep.
You know, like you're like, this isn't half bad.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, that's really funny. What TV shows were you into? Like you had to, almost like, I had to be home at this time to watch it. You know, like for
Yeah.
me, it was like, you know, Power Rangers and Batman the Animated Series and things like that.
I remember, like, the big thing that I remember is, because we have a couple years apart from us.
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think so.
So I remember SpongeBob coming out, and that
Sure.
was a big deal.
Yeah.
I remember, but for me the big deal is when we got Disney Channel. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like we were always Nickelodeon, so like Rocko's Modern Life, Hey Arnold, like those were like good staples of my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I remember everything about those shows. But it got big when I got Disney Channel and like ABC, because then it was like Boy Meets World and all the Disney Channel shows that
Yeah.
were coming out, and so like even Stevens, and so like that was a bigger part of what I remember.
Sure.
Like growing up, it was like, yeah, I remember Rocco and Arnold and, you know, all Cat Dog and
Yeah.
all the good like Hanna-Barbera stuff. So
Yeah, that too as well. That they had like the was it Boomerang or something?
yeah,
They
Cartoon
had
Network.
Yeah, and they had like the old Flintstones and the Jetsons, which was the same thing, and all that stuff. I mean, it's
Yeah.
all very similar. Like, for example, somebody told me this, and it's like, I realized it, and it, like, blew my mind. And if you ever notice in Hanna-Barbera, everyone has a collar, usually. So, like, they either have a collar with a tie, or they have, like, a necklace, like some sort of a collar, because it was an animation trick, so that they wouldn't have to make the characters turn.
Oh.
And I never realized that.
That's pretty
and it's
good.
like, oh, like, that's why, like, even, like, the big, like, purple ape, he had a tie.
Yeah.
Like, they all have
That's really
collars.
funny.
Every single one of them.
Classic.
It's really cool when you think about it, but also kind of lazy. Yeah, that's really funny. What was the Here's a really good question.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you remember at school where kids would talk about it and you were like, yeah, I can't watch that?
That's a good one.
Right?
That's a good one.
For
Let
me,
think
it
about
was
that.
in second grade, and it was South Park.
Dang.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Actually, The Simpsons as well.
South Park was a big one. The Simpsons was a big one. Couldn't watch those.
I've told this story on the podcast, but I'll tell it again. I am very like, me and Donald Glover have a very similar story with The Simpsons, which was we had the Talk Boy from Home Alone 2, and we weren't allowed to watch it. Both he and I, we lived in the same house, and we weren't allowed to watch it. And no, I wasn't allowed to watch it. So what I would do was I would turn it on really low, and I would record it on my Talk Boy. But then I would go and do homework, so my parents would be like, "Oh, he's doing homework or whatever." But then at night, I would listen to The Simpsons.
That's really funny.
It's funny because it sounds rebellious, but then you think about it, and I have all these tapes of The Simpsons, and and like, most of their jokes are very physical.
Yeah.
Like, they're not like word jokes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to, like, find it funny, you know.
You just hear, look out!
Exactly, when it's just audio, you know. But it was enough for me to go back to school and, like, you know, hey, did you see The Simpsons? You know, yeah, kind of, you know.
Yeah. I wasn't super social as an elementary school student.
Sure.
So for me, I was just like, all right, fine, like, not a big deal. Like, I have my Bible Man, VHS, and I'm good.
My Bible Man, the first Avenger.
The first of it. Yeah. So for me, I remember, like, I couldn't watch or play Pokemon. That was, like, just a given.
Sure.
And for me, that was probably the big one, Pokemon.
Yeah.
But I remember getting into the 6th grade, and that was when I started, like, learning how to make friends. It's like, like, they're cool too.
It takes a long time.
It was. Before then, like, I had, like, 1 or 2 friends, and that was it.
Sure.
And then finally,
That's
I
all
got
you
to a place
need.
where I was like, yo, I can expand.
Yeah. I can expand my business.
Yeah. My brand.
Yeah.
And so me and the kids that I shared, like, a desk clump with started watching Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
Every night.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So specifically, me and one other friend would call each other right at 10 o'clock. We would watch Whose Line just to, like, laugh at the same jokes.
Sure.
And then it would be like, all right, bye. And then see each other the next day and talk about it. And
How
so
funny is that? Holy cow.
that was a staple of,
Technology,
like,
man.
6th grade. Was I'm gonna call Alan.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch Whose Line Is It Anyway. During the commercials, we'll talk about how funny it was, and
Sure.
then at school, we'll continue to talk about how funny it was.
Have you ever seen a live taping of it?
No.
You definitely shouldn't, because it would. It's gonna ruin a lot of what you find funny about that show.
I mean, I'm sure to a certain extent it's scripted.
It's not. It's not that it's scripted. It is improvised.
Yeah.
That, like that's the thing that a lot of people think is they're like, oh, they script their jokes. No, I believe that they're very good improvisers.
Oh yeah.
It's just that they can't be that funny in 22 minutes.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
takes
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
They do a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
And they cut down to the best 22 minutes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, that's really what it is. But they are amazing improvisers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's just.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And I could
you know?
live in one of Ryan's shoes.
Sure. That's true.
Yeah. So like free rent.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Did you ever watch anything else that they did? Other than
I saw the
Who's
new
Line?
Who's Line.
Yeah.
But for all those other guys, no. Like I know some of them had shows.
Yeah.
Wayne Brady is like
he's on
Broadway.
Hamilton.
Yeah, he was on Hamilton for a little bit. But no, pretty much just Who's Line was it for those main three guys.
It's really funny that Wayne Brady's on. Well, I don't know if he's in Hamilton anymore. I know he was for a while.
Yeah, he's not.
But he played Aaron Burr, I believe, which is a really awesome role in Hamilton. And but it's just so cool because I feel like the thing that he's always been good at is musical improv. So it's kind of like a really good step forward, I guess.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, like Ryan, I know Ryan still does like a lot of sitcoms. Like he did, you know, 2.5 Men, which I don't know if it's still on, but it feels like it is.
Probably, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So like I know he was on that for a while, and I think Colin and this other dude that I always forget his name.
The fourth guy.
Yeah, the fourth guy. Which every now and again, which is funny because I remember most of the fourth guys. Like it's usually Greg Proops or it's you know, at one point it was Robin Williams for a little while. You know, like it was people like that. But this fourth guy was like always there. Never remembered his name ever, even to this day. Yeah. And him and Colin, they tour around and they do like Who's Line games for theaters and stuff, which is really cool. They did like a 1-hour special that's out somewhere, I'm sure. But yeah, it's really funny. What about, because like here's the thing that I haven't told our audience yet, unless they read the description on the podcast. You're a musician. Yeah. You play guitar. You make music with me. You're one of the guitarists in Mike Valdes and the Noise, and yeah. So like, what are some music influences? Like, where did it all start?
Yeah. Well, to be 100% honest, it really started with you.
Really?
It really did. So
I knew you were going to say that. That's why I asked. I'm kidding. I didn't.
So, you know, we've hinted and talked about it. Parents were pretty conservative growing up.
Of course.
And so all the music I got was from Lifeway Christian Bookstore.
Yeah, like which was usually, dude, do you remember this? The how either Lifeway or like our youth group would have these posters. And they would say, like, if you like Blink-182, you'd like Reliant K. Yeah. And that's kind of how you'd find out who the good bands were. You're like, oh, who's Jimmy Eat World? they sound really good. Yeah.
I wasn't that smart.
Yeah, but, I was.
But yeah, and so, like, I had found Reliant K and Switchfoot. And like Skillet, and that was pretty much it for years.
But to be honest, man, like
that's all
those that like trinity of bands, is like those bands are like good enough to where like you don't have to be like in the Christian music scene to like it. Yeah, you know, because like Meant to Live was on MTV. It wasn't on, like, the Christian channel. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and Be My Escape was on MTV. Like, they played their stuff at the Hollister store. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't play it at Lifeway. Yeah. You know?
So there's a couple, like, going to youth group and, like, hanging around, like, Lifeway. There's a couple other bands that you, like, followed. Like, the Newsboys had like, for all the crap that they get.
With their old singer, you mean? Yeah. Yeah, their old singer was the best.
Yeah. In the bed of a wheel. That one was really good. That one's really cool. I'm trying to think of 1,000 Foot Crutch is also really, really good.
They're like so deep in the Christian lore, but they are very good.
Yeah. And then somehow I get linked up with you when I am in middle school. Yeah. And I remember you gave me back in the day when all of your CDs were in a zip up case. Sure. I had just gotten an iPod for like my 14th or 15th birthday, something like that. Okay. And you were just like, here, put this on your iPod. Put this on your iPod and shuffle it. Yeah. And you maybe gave me like 30 CDs. Sure. And for 2 years, I was just finding music that I loved. Yeah. So that was the start of my like renaissance into good
I don't
music.
even remember what I gave
And so I remember, because you also censored some.
Did I really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
So you
I don't
gave
think
me...
I censored it. I think that's just how I would buy it.
Yeah.
Because, like I would... Okay, kind of... I've already told this story as well, but it's worth retelling. If I ever had a CD that was uncensored... and it had a parental advisory sticker, I would get scissors and cut the parental advisory sticker off so my parents wouldn't, like, look through my lyric books.
Yeah.
However, I didn't take into consideration that they would look through my lyric books and be like, why do some of them have a weird cut in them?
That's really funny. In the car, how we would cover up cursing when we were like driving with my mom or something.
Yeah.
Is when we would drive, and then as soon as like a curse word was coming up, we would lower the volume and cough. So like just drive, and then like blast it back up again.
That's so funny.
And looking back, I'm like, she knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Like we were the idiots.
That's really funny.
But
they seem to have an allergic reaction every time we play the Marshall Mathers LP.
And so in that collection was the starting line, the early November, Under Oath, Something Corporate, Jack's Mannequin.
Yeah.
Those were like huge Newfound Glory.
I feel like I thought that how you found out about those bands was because they would have every year Drive-Thru Records would come out with a DVD.
Yeah.
And they kind of like they would have like weird sketches and like behind the scenes stuff and live performances and all this stuff. And I remember showing it to you.
Yeah.
And you were like, who's this band? I specifically remember it with the starting line.
Yeah.
Like, you were like, I showed you The Best of Me, and you were like, oh my gosh, who is this band? And I'm like, oh, it's the starting line. And then I remember, like, you know, they would do, like, these funny bits, and, like, you know, we would laugh at all the stuff that they would do. And then I showed you Something Corporate, you know, through those DVDs as well, and Newfound Glory. But this is all, it's not news to me, but it's all like, I just thought it was a different way that I showed you those bands.
Nope.
But
because I was 6.
Really?
No, I was just pretty young.
You weren't 6 years old.
No.
That's impossible.
No, I was more like 13.
Yeah, you were definitely
14.
a teenager.
Yeah, I was definitely a teenager.
You had to be an age to relate to the starting line.
Yeah.
You know?
And so, no, that was it. I remember we were doing Vision to Hear.
Dude, and not only that, I remember showing you that DVD, and what really, like, I remember, like, we had this, like, aha moment together. Not to, like, be in a band together, but this aha moment of, like, this could actually happen when we saw the early November, like, performing live, because they were, like, 16, 17 years old, and they were signed to a record label.
Yeah.
So, like, to us, which, granted, you know, you grow up, you find out that, like, that was an indie record label. They were probably given no money. Like, it was probably a bad deal. You know, like, all these things. But back when we were kids, we were like, oh, man, we can get on a label.
That could be us.
That could be us, dude. Like, we could be on Warped Tour, the best tour of all, you know?
Yeah.
So,
but that was that. And so for a good 2 years, I would just say anything. Say Anything has rocked my world.
Yeah.
And so for 2 years, I would just grab my iPod, put it on shuffle, and live my life. And then I would look down and be like, who's this band I'm listening to? I don't know who they are.
Right.
And so that was it.
Did you ever, speaking of Say Anything, did you ever find Max Bemis's voice, like, good?
I'll tell you what, when I listen to this Say Anything, the thing that sticks out to me is how do they have and need 3 electric guitars?
Sure.
Like when, you know, getting into music and getting into recording, my first recording opportunity I got, I was like, all right, I'm going to do 2 electric guitars and they're going to play the same thing.
Right.
Because that's what I thought they did.
Right.
And the more I got into music and recording, and worship helped me out with this too, playing for church. But like
listening to Cartel helped me out with this.
Yeah. Like figuring out that.
Oh, wow, there's harmonies?
Yeah.
You know?
Figuring out that, like, man, these guitars are different tones and they're playing different things. and they necessitate 3 guitars. Like
Sure.
you need 3 guitars in a Say Anything record.
Yeah.
And so that was like, yo, like I think the first song is Belt.
Yeah.
On one of the albums, and I was like, yo, like this, which hearing an interview later on, I was like, touche. He's like, this is a musical.
Yeah.
And so that for me, I was like, yo, Say Anything and guitars, like that kind of opened me up to the guitar world.
Yeah, I remember that being the first band where, because like every band that I listened to and kind of still listen to, like they have to have a pretty voice. Like they have, and like his voice is just, it's not pretty.
No,
like it's very vulnerable and it sounds great, but it's just not a pretty voice. But to its like in a positive way, like it actually makes the music better.
Oh yeah, super authentic.
Well, and not only that, it makes you really like listen to the lyrics and be like, oh man, like these lyrics are like painting an amazing picture.
Yeah.
You know, and especially like the Is a Real Boy stuff. You know, like that. He's said it in interviews, you know, since that he's kind of been trying to make the same record since the beginning. Yeah. And you can kind of tell. And they kind of haven't been as good. But, you know, I've been a fan of their stuff. It's ever since. Like I've liked everything. It's just Is a Real Boy is a very like front to back great album, you know. But yeah, so keep going, like keep taking me through this journey. So you learned about all these bands.
So I learned about that stuff, and then just started trying to play them on my acoustic guitar. I started getting. Every year, my mom was like, all right, do you want to play a sport or do you want to learn an instrument? And so around the 4th grade, I was like, yeah, I've had enough of elementary soccer. You know, every kid bouncing on one ball. Yeah. And so I picked up the drums. And 4th grade through 6th grade, I took drum lessons. Right. And then in the 6th and 7th grade, starting the 7th grade, I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I want to play guitar. And so you pick up an acoustic. Right. So I started taking lessons, but what I would really do is I would sit down and be like, all right, I want to play this whole album. This album sounds really good. I want to play with how they play. And so on my acoustic guitar, I would just ear play what I heard on that album. And that pretty much carried me through like high school. Like I only played acoustic guitar through high school, but getting into college, I went to a school in Chicago and I wanted to go to church, so I found a church and it was like, hey, I play guitar.
To cut you off, did you ever play in youth group?
Yeah,
you did. You played in youth group bands.
Yeah.
Okay, so like who, like you don't have to like say names or anything, but like who, like did you play in the chapel or where did you play?
Yeah, I played at the end because for our youth group that we went to, there was like a hype era, and there was a non-hype era.
Yeah, and I was in the hype era.
Yeah, I was at the tail end of the hype era, so I had a little bit of hype.
Sure.
And then I just rode the roller coaster downhill.
Sure.
Till I left.
Yeah, which is still fun. Yeah, kind of.
And so I remember playing like Revolution, having like a mosh pit in the chapel. Like that was always really fun.
Gosh.
Yeah.
There was always this song that shouldn't have a mosh pit, but had a mosh pit. Yeah. Like, are we really having a mosh pit to Strong Tower by Cutlass? You're on my strong tower! Like, it's not that serious. You know, also, not only is it a mosh pit song, it was the altar call. Yeah. Which, to Godsplain that to the people that didn't go to church, an altar call was when the pastor felt like the Spirit was telling him that somebody needed to get saved. And he would say, everybody bow your heads and close your eyes, and if you feel really uncomfortable right now, please raise your hand, because that means you need Jesus. Because at least that's how it felt when I was in youth group, because I got saved 150 times. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I don't understand. I don't know about you, but that's what happened to me.
For me, it was the one, but I always felt like, damn, like, I'm not okay.
That's so true. Like, it wasn't until, like, after college where I was like, oh, like, I believe in a God that understands that I messed up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And when I was a kid, it was like you didn't, like, it's like you're not worthy and this, that, and the other thing. Yeah. And like And in a way, you're not, but at the same time, it's just like, you shouldn't have to apologize, because, like, you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't have to be like, God, I'm so sorry for this, that, and the other thing, because, like, why else would Jesus have died?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like a slap in the face saying, like, no, I sinned again, your death wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's really good.
So, like, that's kind of how I feel coming out of it now.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I was so guilty.
That's really funny.
So, like, that's why I would play piano for the youth group and set the piano on fire, thinking I was cool. You know, and jumping. Like, were you there the times that I would, like, get on the piano and, like, jump on it like Andrew McMahon?
No.
But, like,
I don't remember that.
Everyone thought it was, like, my thing, because no one knew something corporate, because it was a church.
That's so funny. No, I remember, like, for me, the staple was always like, oh, it's Jordan Hill and Brandon Hiltz-Bidle.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to get married.
Yeah. Jordan and Brandon Hiltz-Bidle.
Yeah, I mean, granted, again, I was a little baby.
Yeah.
But, I
that's
mean, for
definitely not going to happen. He was, like, 45.
Yeah. But, yeah, so that's what I remember. And then the next thing I knew, a bunch of people had left, and I was being asked to help do some music.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
like, we asked everyone, and they all said no. So can you play music?
Pretty much. I was a sophomore.
Okay.
And so everyone was gone.
Were you the leader?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I had turned 15, 16-ish, and the new youth pastor was like, yeah, we need help.
Yeah.
So and at that point, I had been playing with the worship pastor of the church, and so
who's awesome. Adam is the best.
Love that dude. He's an important part of my life too.
Yeah,
so,
Adam is the best.
Yeah, so they asked me, and that just began my life pretty much. So I started from there, went to school to do church music as well, and then found a church
in Chicago, right?
In Chicago,
yeah, at Moody.
And they were like. And I was like, oh, I play guitar. And they're like, oh, you play electric guitar.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And so
that's usually how it works.
Yeah. And so
I play keyboard. Oh, you play grand piano? Yeah, sure. You play the organ? Yeah.
So I went home. I went to my dorm, and I was like, I need to grab an electric guitar. Like, I have no idea what to do. Mm-hmm. And so
you had never played an electric before?
I had never grabbed an electric guitar.
Holy cow, that's amazing to me.
Yeah. And so I sent the dude a video. I remember it was Easter weekend of 2011. Mm-hmm. And so I sent him a video that day of me playing at church, acoustic guitar and singing.
Sure.
And he's like, cool, like, jump on next Sunday.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure. But in my head, I was like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, but, and like, so, he also didn't realize, like, the electric and the acoustic are two different things.
Well, I guess he saw enough. And granted, if I had seen the video, I'd be like, yeah, like, cool, do it.
Sure.
And so I remember I was like, I don't have any of my gear here. Do you have a gear for me? Hoping he'd say no, and I'd be like, oh shucks, I guess I'll play acoustic.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh no, some guy will bring his pedal board and his electric, and you can play electric for us.
That's crazy.
And so I remember I ran out, I bought in-ear monitors, like crappy $15 in-ear monitors.
Sure, of course.
And then
those are called headphones, John.
Yeah. and then I showed up to church. And there was an electric guitar and a pedal board, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do what I did on acoustic.
Oh,
and so
no.
I remember the first thing I did was like I was playing, and like during like when I wanted to get louder, I would just turn on all of the overdrives.
Oh no!
And it just like and just rock out.
Yeah.
But once the electric guitar player was like, just leave these two on and play what you've been playing.
You're right.
And then once I did that, it just became this new world for me where I got to like buy electric guitars, and I wasn't loaded, but I would like Craigslist pedals and amps and boards and stuff like that. And so that was the start of it, just on a lie.
Well, it's just funny because like electric is so like, you know, for lack of a better term, it's a very atmospheric instrument.
Yeah.
Like it's used for a lot of atmospheric things, especially in worship music.
Oh yeah.
And an acoustic guitar is very rhythmic. And when you play rhythmic on something that's supposed to be atmospheric, it sounds like garbage.
Yeah.
So like that's, you know, at first, you know, I'm sure, you know, with like a little bit of overdrive or whatever, I'm sure at first people are like, oh, this sounds different. I don't really know why it sounds different, but it sounds different. And then by the second song, people are like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Usually that's what it sounds like. And,
it's definitely, for me, I learned that in the electric game, it's the approach.
Of course.
And so, like, obviously, for the most part, the neck and the frets are the same. Unless you want to be weird and do different tuning and kind of have your way with it. But I found that the approach in your dynamics, the approach in your strum structure is different. And that's how you add layers and dimensions to your music. And so once I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm not super afraid of the electric guitar anymore. Yeah. And I was watching videos on YouTube and, able to, like, learn about pedals. Like, that's the big thing that changed with me is, like, all right, I can potentially play this like an acoustic guitar. Right. Or I can add dimension and layer to the music that I'm playing. And so at some parts you want to be, Paramore and Skillet and Reliant K and, like, rock it out with bar chords, and you can do that. Or you can, which we see it a lot more nowadays, like the 1975. Sure. And, a lot of these, that was one band that came up. Bad Sons, for me, is another band that comes to mind that use...
American 1975.
Yeah. And use, like, layering on electric guitars to add dimension. And of course. So that was very cool.
Or like I was saying before, like Cartel with, like, the different harmonies and, like to sound even a band like Maylene and the Sons of Disaster, like a very southern, like, harmony but still, like, hardcore. Yeah. Like that's kind of a cool kind of tone you can take as well. Yeah. Cool, man. So, like, okay. So I'm trying to think of other things that I haven't asked other people because we never usually have the same backstory. Yeah. So, like, okay. Do you have, like, summer camp stories? Or, like, I would, personally, what I would love is church camp stories. Okay. Yeah. Like, did you, we kind of mentioned this already. We were in, like, a missionary group called Vision to Hear. Yeah. Did you ever go, like, out of state with us or, like, anything? Or was that just me?
That was just you.
I could have sworn that you were somewhere with us at one point. But then again, it all runs together. Yeah. You're, like, for me, I was like, oh, I remember this in Jamaica. And then another person that was there was like, that was Honduras. And I'm like, oh, like, it all runs together to me. Yeah. It's like, I was on that, like, quote unquote, like, tour life when I was 14. And I stopped doing it when I was, like, 23. Yeah. So, like, I went freaking everywhere, doing that stuff. So it all kind of blends together. Yeah. But anyway, I could have sworn that you did something with Vision to Hear. Or maybe you were just at a camp and Vision to Hear was there or something. Maybe.
But my memory of Vision to Hear was just Miami and South Florida.
Sure.
So
a lot of it was there because I ran the Miami branch.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But as far as camp goes, so there's a lot of stories.
Sure.
I can tell a bad Christian camp story.
Oh, dude, that's all we want here at Childlike. Okay, that's what Mike Valdes.
Here's a bad Christian camp story. Yeah,
I'll see if I can top it.
Well, this is definitely gonna show a bruised eye for the church.
Okay.
So I was at a camp.
As opposed to the other bruised eyes the church has done themselves.
Yeah, that's funny. So I was at a camp with the Millers.
Yeah.
They were like pastor and worship leader and all over the place. But they invited me to go to camp with my brothers. And we went to this camp and it was really cool. But it just slowly started to reveal itself as something really weird. And so I remember...
Oh, no.
Oh, man. Here's two crazy parts. So a touring band, I guess, came in. Or like a church band from another area came in.
Sure.
And the guitarist had one leg.
Oh, no.
And so he's playing guitar, and I remember, like, it was a good night. Like, good worship, good preaching, it was fine. And then at the end of the day, they were like, all right, well, we're going to start speaking in tongues and doing miraculous healings and stuff like that.
Oh,
which
boy.
aren't necessarily my background.
Yeah.
They are my background.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone grow an eye because they have a bad eye.
Yeah, neither have I. That's because it doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, I remember the first thing, they're like, if you've been told you have the lie of ADD, come up here, we're going to pray for you. And I was like, oh, shoot. Because my older brother has ADD, and I was like, this is the first time the church is bringing it up.
Oh, no.
There it is with the guilt again. That was like, that's weird.
Yeah, that is really weird.
But then they start praying for healing, and they, like, pull that guitarist out, and they're like, we're going to believe that God's going to form a new leg.
Oh, no.
And so part of me feels bad, because in that, like, I don't know if he's part of that background, too, but if he's not, which is a good chance he's not, he's just along for the ride. He can't be like, oh, no thanks. Like, I'm good. You know? And so I remember he had the pant that didn't have a leg in it was kind of rolled up.
Sure.
And so they like rolled it down, and they're like, all right, what size shoe are you? Like,
oh my
10.
God.
Like, all right,
what size shoe are you?
We need another size.
Get someone that's going to get a shoe for this guy.
Yeah, so like, we need another size 10 shoe. Get a size 10 shoe. So they like put the shoe underneath the pant leg, and they're like trying to form a leg. God. And they're praying for him, and I'm just sitting in the back like, I want to watch this.
Oh, no.
And so, and
is
part of me...
Is this a magic show?
It was weird. This? And so I just remember people are praying, and the whole room's kind of going crazy. And at one point, the dude who's like leading the charge is like, if you don't believe this can happen, get out! And I was like, I want this to happen, but I guess I'm going to leave. Yeah. Because if I'm the one that's holding this bag, I'll gladly leave if this guy gets a leg.
Yeah, sure.
And so I left, and the next day I was like, yo, did this guy get a leg? Like, what did I miss out on?
They'd be like, yeah, but I got cut off again.
And so, damn BMX bikers.
Yeah. Yeah, man, but he went BMX riding and busted it again.
And so I left, and I came back the next day, and no one talked about it. So I guess it didn't happen. But for me, I was like, man, like... That was a crazy story because...
Man, you know what, dude? I would have stayed there and done everything in my power to, like, look like I wasn't questioning anything, because I would have just loved to see the awkward silence of him not getting a leg back.
Yeah.
You know?
And they'll just be like, all right, back to your cabins.
And it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee you... Whoever was there, there's at least one or two people that's the day they stop believing in God. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's rough.
Because that's the wrong reason.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so another from the same camp. So I grew up Baptist, and we weren't super big on speaking in tongues or any of that crazy stuff. Yeah. So... that camp kind of believed that the mark of a Christian is that you speak in tongues. And so...
Oh, no.
And so they're like, the end of the camp, they're like, all right, if you haven't spoken in tongues, come to the front. And I was like, I haven't spoken in tongues, so I go to the front. And so they're like, all right, we believe that if you're saved, you speak in tongues. So if you haven't spoken in tongues, you're unsaved until you do it. Yeah. So 3, 2, 1, speak in tongues. And,
oh no!
And I remember I was like,
do I just go Simba Kalabara? What do I do?
And so I just started praying because I'm already called out and in front of all these other kids. Sure. And I'm just praying in English and just like silently to myself, but out loud. And this, like a camp counselor hears me and comes over and he's like, "All right, I'm going to pray for you," and he starts praying in tongues. And I remember the badass move of my life so far is me going, "Hey, I can't understand what you're saying.
I love this.
Can you please pray in English for me?"
I love this.
And he's like, "Oh,
I understand all the Christians can understand you, but I can't understand you. So if you could just speak in the secular English, that would be great."
So I was like, "I can't understand what you're doing. So can you please pray for me in English?"
I love this.
And he was
story.
like, "Oh, okay." And so he prayed for me in English, and I was like, kind of frustrated at the whole thing. The whole week was kind of frustrating.
Of course.
But I was just like, all right, amen. And I look at him, and I walk back to my seat. And I was like, and then I went back. Because at that point, I was just so frustrated with me. It wasn't like the whole church was there. It was me, my 2 brothers, the Miller daughters, and that was it.
Yeah.
And so at that point I was like, there's a lot of good things. Like the music was really, really good. The band was awesome.
Yeah.
The preachers were really good. It was just afterwards they got really weird.
Yeah. And
so I was frustrated, and I went back, and of course our team lost because we weren't that athletic.
Sure.
But
you weren't praying hard enough.
And so
the other team is just cursing you out in tongues.
Man, that's so funny. And so that was the last day of camp, and I went back and I was like, this is really weird, and it's affecting my brothers in a way. Like I could just tell. We didn't talk about it because we were pretty young, but I could just tell that it was.
Dude, that must have really messed you guys up if it was that young.
I remember telling Jordan, "Stay here,
dude." That kid, dude, I love your brother, man.
Yeah.
Like, I love both of your brothers, like, more than I like you, and I'm kidding.
Of course.
I'm completely kidding.
Yeah.
I definitely like you more than your brothers. I'm joking. I like them all equally, like a perfect parent. But your brother, being that young, going through that, dude,
Yeah. Yeah,
it
I remember
makes me feel awful inside.
He was young. He was definitely around 12, 13 years old.
Dude, I remember going to Disney World with you, which we're definitely getting into at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
Here. I remember going to Disney World with you, and he was so scared at the Haunted Mansion, he threw up on your mom.
We talked about that the other day. Like,
dude,
that's Jordan's knee reaction. His knee gut reaction is throw up.
Yeah.
And so, I remember we were with
guys. I'm gonna throw up.
We were with his friends, and like we were just cracking. Like one thing that we did at that time in life was like awkward hugs were really funny.
Yeah, I think I remember showing you them.
Something like that. Yeah,
it was from the Drive-Thru Records video.
Yeah.
You remember that?
And
you would hug somebody, and you would put your head on their neck, and your beard scruff would get on their neck, and you'd whisper, "Our balls are touching."
So for us, we took it.
I would do that to girls. I did it to everyone.
And so we took it a step further. And I was like, all right, like however you can awkwardly hug someone,
sure,
do it. And we had left Chili's, and I guess his friend Chris had given him an awkward hug, and he like was laughing so hard that he just threw up everywhere. Yeah. And at first we were like, oh my gosh, like is he okay? Yeah. And then as soon as he's done throwing up, it's like like laughing again, and we're like, oh okay.
So I guess that is his knee gut reaction. It's just like
his reaction. First thing is to throw up.
So he didn't see this then, the tongues thing.
I mean, he was there.
Okay.
Whether or not he remembers it, we never talked about it.
Sure.
I just remember.
It's just weird that he didn't throw up. I'm
That's really funny.
And then they just start praying for a whole different reason. Because they think that he has the devil in him.
That would be hilarious. That'd be a great story.
And he just doesn't stop throwing up because he gets more and more scared. That's the real story. That's what should have happened.
I just remember, because for us, like going to the front for worship was like a big thing. And,
of
like,
course.
all the kids were there, and so that was really fun.
That's what we did.
But I remember telling Jordan at camp, "Yo, stay back. Like, don't come up here because." It's weird.
Yeah,
and so
it is weird.
we left camp. It's kind of like that, you know. Not that I ever had this, but it's like that mom hit or dad hit mom. Yeah, and we don't know what to do with ourselves, and we're never going to talk about it. Yeah. So that was like the drive home. Like we're gonna watch a movie, and we're never going to talk about this again. And so to this day, I have never talked about that with Brandon or Jordan. Huh. But I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to be like, yo, what do you remember from this camp?
And that's why we have this podcast, guys. Come on out.
Pop them bottles.
Welcome back to Speaking Tongues with Mike Valdes. And a Sibalagala to you. And awesome. So I've never really I believe in speaking tongues, but I believe in it in a very different way. Yeah. Like I believe that in that story in the Bible, they were speaking the language that they were. So, for example, if they were Chinese, they were speaking Mandarin or Cantonese or whatever. They were American, they were speaking English. And for some reason, because of a miracle of God, they understood each other.
Yeah.
It wasn't they came up with a new language.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, that's what I believe. Because
Yeah.
that's more of a believable miracle that people are just talking, and for some reason... Because I've had those moments where, like, people are just, like, speaking in another language, and I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we've had those moments before.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what speaking in tongues is,
Yeah.
at least in my opinion.
I think there's
completely
definitely there's definitely an argument for that at the day of Pentecost.
Yeah.
Because 2,000 or 3,000 people get saved.
Yeah.
And so for sure, I think that's one aspect of speaking in tongues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So, do you have any like funny church camp stories? I mean, just because the last one was so funny that it wasn't.
You're reevaluating.
Yeah, I'm really evaluating what comedy is.
Funny.
It was
camp
funny in the
stories.
sense of, like, you know, the comedies at the Emmys. Like, Transparent Season 2 was the best comedy of the year. Like, okay, it had one joke in the whole season.
Funny camp stories. To be honest,
it could be anything. Church camp or summer camp or
to
anything.
be honest, probably not in this context. Like, I remember going to a Word of Life camp.
Sure.
And that was my first, like, just me and Brandon. Like, no matter what, me and Brandon were always together, my older brother.
Yeah.
Because we were 18 months apart.
Mm-hmm.
And he started school late, so we were legit. He was always the next grade above me.
Mm-hmm.
But in that camp, I got bit by a snake.
Yeah.
That was kind of crazy. But out of something, I'm trying to think of something funny. I remember I thought our camp counselor hated us. Because whenever we did something, like, weird or crazy, he would make us do push-ups.
Okay.
And being a fat kid,
Sure.
the worst thing you could do is make me, you know, exude energy.
Yeah, for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was it. Like, I remember I had good camp experiences.
I had good camp experiences. However, I went to so many church camps and so many different, like, flavors of Christian.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just
Yeah.
like this one is salted, this one's unsalted, this one's barbecue. Like, it's all the same brand of chips, but they're all different flavors.
Yeah.
I kind of did all that through Vision to Hear and all that. But I mean, there's funny stuff. Like, for example, there's a great Pete Holmes joke that he has about where he's like, you know, this is the only world that we live in where I'm not a youth pastor.
Yeah.
And he says he has a very specific description about what a youth pastor does.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you something that's more real than that.
Yeah.
And he's just like you guys can basically, without me doing it, can imagine me with an acoustic guitar with a rainbow strap saying, all right, Brandon, let's take out those testimonies. Let's whip out those testes. And everyone's laughing, but I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
That's awesome.
that is such a youth pastor thing, is to say something so sexual, not realize what it actually means, but 14-year-olds think it's the funniest thing in the freaking world.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's happened to me before. Like, I remember at one point, Fear Factor was really popular, and so every youth group was like, what's the most disgusting thing we could eat?
Yep.
You know? And they got octopus tentacles at one point. And I can't remember. For all I know, this was in freaking, like, Butthole Magoo, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where this was. It was somewhere. And, I have a really good story after this, too. So they're all eating it or whatever, and it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And the youth pastor is, like, starting to realize that they don't think it's that bad, so he's, like, kind of amping up the crowd to be like, ew, or whatever. He's like, look at those testicles, and, like, never realized that he said testicles instead of tentacles.
Yeah.
And the crowd thought it was the funniest thing in the freaking world.
Of course.
Because they're all 14.
Yeah.
And there was one time, I can't remember. I remember it was in the Bible Belt, because I remember Because when it happened, I remember everyone saying, "Oh my word," which is such a Bible Belt thing. And bless his heart, which is like their version of saying like, "Oh, I could say whatever I want because I said bless his heart."
Yeah.
You know? And it was this dude that was like trying to be cool or whatever. I guess, I don't know if he was the youth pastor or what he was. I never saw him after this, but he came in on a motorcycle, right? Came in on a motorcycle.
Classic move.
Popped a wheelie.
Yep.
Lost balance. The bike flew up in the air. He fell on the ground. And the bike landed, thankfully, nowhere near him. You know, but, but just like this whole, like, just imagine it in 3 seconds, this is what happened. Yeah! Oh! Like 3 seconds, all that happened. Oh my word! Like, and then just awesome. Like, why would somebody do that at a youth group? Like, I don't understand how that brings us closer to Christ. You know, like, you know, I just thought it was amazing.
That's super funny.
Anyway, do you have anything like that?
Extreme. That, I mean, I had a friend ride on a motorcycle too.
Yeah, we were both
he did it in a way that I was like, you know what? That's pretty legit.
Yeah.
It was the
well, we all went through an extreme youth group time. Like, for example...
No, that was the name of the youth group, Extreme.
Oh.
It's X-Stream.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And their theme song was, we're living an extreme day, day, day.
It was X
Toby
and the word stream, like river, because we're going to be a river for Christ.
Oh,
even though that makes no sense.
Ours, I remember
right, Extremers.
Ours were Salt. You remember ours?
I have no idea.
Ours was Salt. It's Student Action Leadership Team. We're the salt of the earth. Because that's the thing about Christians is like, even though we're constantly being reminded that we're lower than the ground, we also kind of fertilize it.
Yeah. I'm gonna start a youth group called Paprika.
So bad.
Like just other seasonings.
Yeah. We're the pepper.
What a paprika!
What a paprika! And yeah, we're cumin. Like, it's like, because we just got to keep everyone cumin, dude.
And the middle schoolers love it.
Yeah, middle schoolers love it, and like everyone that's 14 is like, don't you realize what this sounds like? No, it's because we keep everyone cumin.
I remember I went to a youth group that was run by kids.
Yeah. Oh no, that's like a summer camp that's run by kids. Camp Nowhere.
It was pretty great because the high school was called Drop Kick to the Face, and the middle schoolers were called Kick to the Face.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was
punch to the face. Punch to the face.
Oh, okay. I was like, but then who's drop kick?
I was like, all right, so punch to the face is going here, drop kick to the face is going over there. And I was like, yeah, that's really funny.
That's amazing. That's really funny.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many of these stories that we can get into.
Yeah.
But, what's it called? So let's talk about like theme parks and stuff, because we have a story that we can get into for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I want to, because you're the perfect person to talk about this. I've said it on a previous episode, but I almost want to cut it out because I'd rather just tell the story with you instead.
Yeah.
But anyway, one of the most fun times of my life that I remember is with you, and it was when both of our parents are teachers.
Yep.
And there was a teacher conference where they all huddle around and speak in tongues and
pray for erasers.
Yeah, they pray for erasers and all these different kinds of school supplies. And it was like right next to Disney, right?
Yeah.
And so your mom was like, hey, let's go to Disney. They have like a Halloween party, and I like begged my mom to go with you guys, and she let me go. I guess because she felt so bad that we were at like near Disney, but like never went to Disney.
Yeah.
So she let me hang out with you guys, and I was like your weird like third wheel, and
for a little bit. The group opened up.
No, it ended up opening up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a third wheel at all. Like,
Yeah.
it was great. But yeah, so it was an amazing. It was for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween, and it was like the first year that they did it. And what you did was they gave you a bag in the beginning, and you went around and you went trick or treating like everywhere. So we are hopped up on the most candy.
Yep.
Like we ate chocolate and candy all night long. Like I remember I was like so freaking loaded on sugar, man. Like I remember I went into the bathroom and I'm like, I'm gonna kindergarten pee all over this bathroom.
Yeah.
You remember that? Yeah. And I took my pants and underwear all the way down and peed in the urinal. And everyone is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm kindergarten peeing all over this bathroom. And people are like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like doing it. Like, that's how wired I was. But yeah, so other than the Haunted Mansion story, which we've already told, what else do you remember?
It was really funny. So my younger brother was there. We were there with another, family friends of ours, and they had younger kids. So the moms of this group and the little kids of this group left. And so it was me, my older brother, my dad, Mike, and another gentleman who was the father of the other family. And
is he not your dad's brother?
Nick?
Yeah.
No.
Is Nick not related to you?
No.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, if you were, I'm sure there's plenty of pictures that were taken of all of us as a group. We all look like we're family.
Oh, yeah.
We all look the same, and we're from 3 different families.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. And so I remember...
Nick that was like the best night of my life as well, because I only knew Nick in like the Christian school.
Yeah.
Like
discipliner.
Yeah, like discipliner kind of person. The guy that would give, people detention for bringing a bagel upstairs.
Yeah.
Like that kind of a thing. And getting to see that guy who he really was.
Yeah.
I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. So I remember we went on Space Mountain.
Yeah.
And the girl who was checking seatbelts was super hot.
Yeah.
And so I remember we found out her name was Caitlin. And then we spent the rest of the day figuring out how can we we
found out what her name was because we went on the ride 18 times.
Yeah, well the first time I remember we rode it and then we left.
Yeah.
And we came and so we're talking.
But I was like, did you see that girl?
Yeah.
And you were like, no. And I was like, dude, she was changing the seatbelts. And I was like, and you dared me to
so I'm gonna get there.
Yeah.
So we were on another ride called the People Mover, and we're like, all right, joking around, how do we get this girl's attention? And Nick is like, just get a piece of paper, write your number on it, lick it, and stick it to the control booth or whatever it is.
Freaking Nick, dude.
And so it was so funny. We're just trying to come up with things to get this girl's attention, and we land on. Once we get there to where they check your seatbelt or whatever, if it's not her, you gotta go, no, I want her to check me.
Right. And then point at her at the control booth.
Yeah. And so I remember the park at that point, all the kids are trick-or-treating, no one's going on rides.
Right.
And so we start chanting on the roller coaster going, oi, 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 like that.
Maybe she thought we were foreigners.
And so I remember we get her attention. She goes on the intercom of the ride and is chanting with us as we go up the little hill. Mm-hmm. And I remember
that was the last time. That was the night we met her.
You did the whole I want her to check me deal, and we laughed and it was awesome. Yeah. And I remember we were like, Mike, you gotta profess your love to her.
Yeah.
And you were like, I don't want to do it. No, man, I can't do it.
Even though in my head I was like, I have to do this.
Yeah. And so it's the end of the night.
How else is she going to know?
It's the end of the night. At one point, we weren't even getting off.
Yeah.
We would just go through the ride because we've gone on 19 times.
Well, and they were like, you guys really like this ride. We'll just leave you on.
So we stayed in our carts. And I think there was almost exactly 6 of us, so we didn't have to change, and we just kept on going over and over and over again, to the point where we could have gotten seriously injured.
Yeah.
But it was really fun, and I enjoyed that night so much. And so we were laughing and having a great time. And at one point, we were like, Nick, too, was like, just tell her you love her.
My favorite thing in the whole world was Nick made, other than the oi oi thing, Nick made us all like scream for every picture. Everything we did, we would have to scream "Azúcar," "Azúcar," which is sugar in Spanish. We were so hopped up, dude.
You were also. I forgot you were yelling as we were going like through the ride. You're yelling, "Kate!" Her name was Caitlin. We found out. Caitlin, I love you. Yeah, Caitlin, I'll go to space for you.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh my gosh, yes! I do remember that. Because usually whenever I go on rides, my bit that I always have a bit every time I go on rides is my bit that I usually do is when we go on the first drop is to be with to say to the person I'm with to go my pee-pee, oh my gosh, my pee-pee. That's my bit every time. But it kills every time.
That bit's been killing since the 3rd grade.
It has. That's true. I haven't changed it since the 3rd grade.
But so we get to the end of that and we're like, just do it. And I remember we told her, all right, this is the last time, we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
And it's the last time we get off the ride. She's there. We all say bye to her. You're last, and we're all looking at you. And you, with like the straightest, most innocent face, went, "I love you," and then ran away.
I just know I went. I'll never forget this to save my life, dude. I went, "Caitlin, I love you," and I ran so fast.
You ran away.
Like I ran so far away.
That was, and then that was it. And then
it was awesome.
But that was so fun. It's one of those nights to remember that were awesome.
Well, and what's really funny about that story, especially to me, is I still to this day, which granted, if I ever saw this girl again, I wouldn't recognize her.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But in my head, I was just like this like dream girl that I have in my head. At one point, I was like, I need to write a song about this girl, right? And you know, I'm gonna give you a little bit of my insight on like how I write. What I'm really good at is writing hooks. I like writing choruses a lot. It's really difficult for me to write verses. So sometimes I'll have a hook from like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And the hook that I came up with was the hook for Questions.
Really?
So the hook, you are my stars, you are my dreams, you mean everything to me, you hold my heart right in your hands, and my love will stop when the world comes to an end, is about that girl.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I had no idea. But it makes sense.
It's 100% about that girl.
So
if you want, we'll play the song after this episode so you can be like, oh, I know what that song's actually about.
That's very fun. That's awesome.
But yeah, it's it's so stupid, dude. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so let's go back a little bit more into childhood since we've been talking about like, you know, more recent stuff and things like that. I mean, granted, this was mostly childhood stuff. Do you remember having like a Saturday morning ritual? Like, did you eat like a specific cereal in the morning while you would watch cartoons?
My ritual was I would sleep as late as I could, and then I had a neighbor who lived across the street from us, and he would, back in the day, like, it's not a big deal, he would go into my backyard, knock on my window, and be like, yo, get up, there's stuff to do.
Right.
Meaning, like, there's video games to play, like, we'd go outside and play all the time. So, like, legit, I would wake up and go outside and hang out with, like, the neighborhood kids until I had to come back inside. So Saturday was not a cartoon day for me.
Okay.
Or a cereal. Like every other day was a cereal day for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's pretend like it's one of those days. What was the cereal that you were into? What was the cartoon that you would like that you would mix it with? You know, because that's the thing that kids understand. Like kids are craftsmen. Like, they're like, oh, like, I know that a bowl of Cocoa Puffs goes best with an episode of the Flintstones. You know, or, like, whatever, you know?
Yeah. That's good. So I'll try to. We can go into detail later.
Of course.
But kind of a crazy story. I didn't really eat food until I was like 14 or 15 years old.
Oh gosh.
So, and this is honestly true. My like food world revolved around cereal, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, chicken nuggets, and French fries.
Yeah.
And for like 14 years of my life, that's all I ate.
Right.
Were cereal, peanut butter jelly, French fries, and chicken nuggets. And so my parents would make meatloaf, and John's having a bowl of cereal. And my parents would make, pasta, and John's having peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for years.
Yeah.
Until I'll stop it there. But that was my life. So I can't answer that question of like what did I pair it with, because to be honest, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice.
Were you ever like a Pop-Tarts kid by any chance?
Huge Pop-Tarts kid, s'mores, 100%.
Really?
S'mores.
Well, I did something pretty awesome today for you, I guess. I'm going to check into my bag here. Here at Childlike at Best, we like to pair a lot of like different cereals. My favorite thing to do is to get a cereal, usually that no one's ever heard of, that I believe pairs with your personality.
Ooh.
And who you are. However, I went to Walgreens today. I saw a very specific cereal I had never seen before, and I thought that we should eat that as well. So we're going to have two different cereals today.
I'm ready.
Which has never been done, but it's season 2 and a lot of things change. This isn't season 2, but a lot of things change. For all we know, this is the first episode. I haven't released this podcast yet. So I found Pop-Tarts cereal.
What?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Insane.
Yeah. So you definitely can't hear it in the podcast, but yeah, it is podcast strawberry frosted cereal, Pop-Tart cereal. And so we're gonna try some on our cereal bowls here. This is gonna be a weird ASMR episode.
Do you want a spoon, or are we gonna go hands?
It's up to you, man. Are you one of those weird people that need cereal with milk?
Well, here's the thing. I think it was made for it, so I'm gonna run real quick.
Why not? Yeah, get your thing. I'm gonna have mine dry for now.
All right, cool.
Just for now.
Let me go lactate on this one.
Yeah. What exactly is it lactating from?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Coming from like eating it dry, at least right now, my review that I have is it tastes kind of like a sweet Cheeto. What do you
feel
think?
like a kid?
Sure.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
For sure.
I feel like they definitely nailed it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing too. Pop-Tarts aren't that good.
Well, agree or disagree. I can kill a s'mores Pop-Tart case.
Dude, I'm not saying you can't kill it. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying it's not that good. You know?
I would say these are a 10 out of 10.
Really?
I like these a lot. For me, cereal either works or it doesn't.
Of course.
It's either a 10 or a 0.
That's amazing.
Right? Either it works or it doesn't. And this Pop-Tart strawberry cereal works.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Yeah. Like, Honey Bunches of Oats doesn't work. It's 0.
It works if you're 50.
Yeah. So
and you need fiber.
So maybe it's not a 1 through 10 scale. Maybe it's just a yes or no or thumbs up or thumbs down. But this, I think it works, man.
So I have another cereal for you. This is like the staple of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes, where I like to get specific cereals that relate to your personality and things like that. So for you, what I got was Funko brand, which this is also a bit that I like to talk about as well. I talked to our sponsors at Funko. And by sponsors, I mean I like them and I buy their products. And by talk to, I mean I tweeted them and they didn't get back to me. So what I did was I bought Funko brand Red Power Rangers breakfast cereal.
What? That's cool.
So
It looks dope.
Yeah, and we're going to take a picture of this for the gram and all that stuff after this. It's a great cereal. It's a red cereal that comes with a toy, with a Funko Pop of the Red Ranger. And on the back, there's a Megazord maze. There's all kinds of cool stuff as well. Awesome. Usually the cereals I like to pair with people are Funko brand cereal. So please actually sponsor me this time, Funko. So
you have to be seeing these tweets.
Yeah.
Funko.
You have to. So we're going to tear into these as well.
That looks awesome.
Now, these, this is your toy.
And you're giving it to me?
Well, here's the thing. I get these for my guests. These cereals are yours. So I'm going to open these up here. Do a little ASMR for you guys.
Do they have other Ranger?
As far as I know, there is a Green Ranger exclusive as well, but I haven't been able to find it.
Where'd you get this at?
I get them all online. I talk to my sponsors at Funko, is what I do. That's my
Greg
secret.
from Funko, do your job, man.
Yeah, come on, Greg. He's too busy giving the promo codes to WTF. Come on, man. Mark Maron doesn't even sound like he likes Funko. I made a podcast just to do this.
Yeah.
So before you can eat it and give me your review. However, what we like to do here is a little different. It would be fun for us to just review this cereal. But what would be more fun is for you to review this cereal as the Red Power Ranger. So, I am going to cue up the Power Rangers theme song, and I would like for you, in the best form that you possibly can, to review the cereal, call out the dinosaur that you would most likely morph into.
I would morph into?
Yes.
Because there's the realistic animal that I would morph into, and then there's the one that I would want to morph into, and they're very different.
This is your Power Ranger, man. You can do whatever you want. It could be any color. I mean, granted, this is the red Power Ranger, but it could be any color you want. So, hang on just a second here.
Well, let me taste it first and get my thoughts.
Taste it first. Do your thing.
Is there like a flavor for this? There's no flavor for it. It's just Funko, right?
Yeah, it's just Funko. What I've realized from tasting many of these is that they have a very Fruity Pebbles taste, which is not bad. It's a very good flavor.
This is my third bite. Me this bite, and then clean up, and then I'm gonna explain what I'm gonna say.
Okay. So I would also, if it were up to me, every time you take a bite, I would like for you to go, "Oh yeah!" Here we go.
Purple Killer Whale Ranger, activate! It's a little bland. Aya! Very vanilla. Aya! Basic cereal. Aya! You buy it for the toy. Aya! I'm done.
That's amazing. I love it. Oh my gosh. Red Ranger, Power Ranger cereal.
You buy it for the toy. Aya!
That's pretty true. Isn't that most cereal though for kids? Like you kind of just buy it for the toy. But anyway, so is there anything else that you want to say before we go? Is there like any stories or anything that you want to say or that you can think of?
Well, you're doing a good job hosting. I'm gonna throw a question your way. All right?
Sure.
What is that mountain with Mount Rushmore?
Sure.
Right. It's a game that me and Jordan like to play. Mount Rushmore of French fries. Like, what are the best 4 French fries? Right.
Right.
What's the Mount Rushmore of? I don't know. You can do a Mount Rushmore for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm gonna throw a toss up your way.
Sure.
Mount Rushmore. Your top 4 bands or artists or singers or whatever. Like,
that's a great
of ever.
That's a great question.
So your top 4. Who is going to be on your Mount Rushmore of like bands, vocalists, singers, people that do music?
Yeah.
Who's on your Mount Rushmore?
I mean, the thing is, most everybody that I'm choosing, that I would choose, is like, I'm choosing them because they do other things other than music. So, Donald Glover, Andrew McMahon, Freddie Mercury, and maybe Prince.
Nice.
You know, because he played a lot of really great instruments. He was a great vocalist, wrote a lot of really like sexy songs, but also talked about God at the same time, you know? Yeah. And he sounds enough like Michael Jackson without being Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
That's who I would pick. What about you?
Nice. For me, my personal Mount Rushmore of music or artists or band people, Paul Meany has to be up there. He's the lead singer, the songwriter of Mute Math.
Yeah. And Earthsuit.
All the time. I still haven't.
One time.
I've never heard of like a song from Earthsuit, so I don't get that joke, but it sounds funny.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's a band that speaks in tongues.
They were at that camp.
Yeah. That was the thing without the leg.
He got his leg back.
Yeah.
I love Paul Meany. That's one band, like, when bands change, you hate it.
Yeah.
Who was I listening to? Like, Bad Sons came out with a new album not too long ago.
Yeah.
And I was, like, talking to my younger brothers, like, you gotta give it a chance. Like, this is a good album. It's not Disappear Here, which is, in my opinion, their second album and best one.
Yeah, yeah.
But they've changed and it's still good. And that's an album, like, that's a band, and he's an artist and a songwriter that I want him to continue changing. Because if you follow the trajectory from the self-titled to, like, whatever the last one is, Odd Soul or Momentum or whatever it's called, Monument.
Yeah.
They're all...
They came out with another one recently, I want to say.
Yeah. Like, they're all so good. I will see them live any and every time. And he, for me, has shown a songwriter that progresses. He doesn't just stay. Like, he's an artist that you can tell wants to progress.
Yeah.
So Paul Meany's been awesome.
Well, and another thing that I've always really respected about him is he progresses lyrically as well. Like, you know, yeah, you've never heard Earthsuit, but Earthsuit is very like you can't get any more on the nose as to these guys are a Christian band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Than that band. Or any band in that category, really. Mute Math, not so much, which is great. You know, I actually think that that's amazing. However, if you know the background, you're like, oh my gosh, like, this is great. Like, for example, one of my favorite lyrics of all time is one of his, which is In Control. There's no reason that you're breathing unless you fill the air. Take control. You know, and it's like, and it's talking about how he wants the presence of God to take control of the atmosphere. However, he writes it in a way that it could literally be about anything. You know, and that's like the best way to write a song.
Yeah. And then, in my opinion, everyone in Mute Math, or anyone that's ever been in Mute Math, is probably the best at what they do.
Dude, that drummer is ridiculous.
Darren King, insane.
Yeah.
And he has a band with his wife now, and they're insane.
They're and he writes beats for Kanye West.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bassist. So good. Like, no one in like a band of that size is touring with an upright bass.
The only other band where the bassist has like flabbergasted me is Two Door Cinema Club. And that's because their bassist is basically the lead guitarist of the band. And that bassist is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, but the guy from Mute Math is like outrageous. What proves how good musicians they are is that each of them have their own side projects that are just as good as the band that they're in.
Yep.
You know, like...
And it's all so good. And then Paul Meany,
and it's all different. Yeah.
He's the guy, like, I was like, what piano is he? He tours with the Rhodes?
Yeah, it's a Rhodes.
And so he has, like, a Rhodes engineer, a Rhodes tech. Like a keyboard tech just for him.
Yeah.
Because that thing sucks.
And he does
from
a bunch of
a maintenance perspective.
Well, yeah, because it's a keyboard, but it runs like an electric guitar with a whole bunch of pickups, and most guitars have 4 pickups. A Rhodes has 88 pickups. So it's the worst.
Yeah.
Because there's 88 keys.
Yeah.
So each key has a pickup.
Yeah.
And it is the worst. Like, the only thing that is as annoying is what Andrew McMahon does, which is to take a baby grand everywhere.
Yep.
And he has to have it tuned everywhere he goes because it goes out of tune when you move it.
Yep.
Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah. So, Paul Meany's up there.
Yeah. He's definitely a top 5, top 10 guy for me.
Yeah.
Like, I just wouldn't know where to put it.
Yeah.
But he is a very, like, holy cow, this guy.
Just because it's my youth. Like, my youth is defined by Relient K.
Sure.
And so I have to throw Matt Thiessen up there.
Sure.
Let alone the fact that Forget Not Slow Down is, in my mind, a perfect record.
Yeah, me too.
I think
it's my
Forget Not Slow
favorite.
Down is so good.
Yeah.
From lyrics to the songs and the guitars. And that's like that's where you see them. Like, they're realizing that they're done with, like, as a Christian band, you can play your cards right and just be a Christian band.
Yeah.
And then at some point, you just kind of get tired of it. And like, all right, let's stick true to art and music and us.
Yeah.
And that was a record where they stick true to us, stick true to who they were.
I think that record is also very different because it's the only record where they don't make a joke. Like, it's like every single album, every one of them has 1 or 2 songs where they're like, well, this is our cutesy song.
Yeah.
And like, and that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that because I understand why they're doing it. Because when I was 14, I loved Sadie Hawkins Dance.
Yeah.
Now I'm out of college. I'm not 14. I don't like that song, you know, and neither do they. And you can tell, you know, when every time they play it at Universal Studios, you know, but yeah, like, that's the only record that doesn't have, like, I just wasted 10 seconds of your life. Like, it doesn't have anything like that. It's just straight up, like, this is how I feel. I got freaking dumped, and, you know, even their newest album, which we talked about at length, you know, because a lot of people didn't like it, and I really thought it was good.
Yeah.
You know, they still have, like, you know, which it has one of their most vulnerable songs they've ever done, which is Empty House. You know, like, it's one of the most, it's like, you know, when I'm living without you, there's nothing but an empty house. And it's like this amazingly vulnerable song. But also before that song is a song called Mrs. Hippopotamus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like,
which is a rockin' song.
It's a good song about the Cleveland Browns, and it's really good. However, I'm just, the older I get, the more I'm like, why do you guys do that? Why can't it just be one cohesive story? You know? And, like, and Forget Not Slow Down is the only album that does that. So that's why it's not why it's my favorite, but it's definitely my favorite for a lot of those reasons. Yeah. Anyway, next.
So I have 3 and 4 ready.
Yeah.
They're going to be obscure, and they just kind of define, again, my musical life growing up and stuff like that.
Sure.
Number 3 is Dave Matthews.
Okay.
I love Dave Matthews. I think all the jokes are still spot on. All the jokes, all the hee-hee.
Yeah.
The yeah, he, like, in between songs, he just mumbles, and no one understands what he's saying.
Didn't I go with you to one of his shows?
Could have. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I went with you to one of his shows.
You sit in the lawn?
It was the first time I ever smelled weed. And I was like, what is that weird smell? And he's like, it smells good out there. I'm pretty sure the reason why we started doing that was because I was there. And I was making fun of how he's talking. And I'm like, why does he talk like that? And everyone's like, because he's high out of his mind. And I didn't know. I'm a good little boy. I didn't know these things.
Yeah, Dave Matthews is awesome. I love Dave Matthews. He kills it. From the perspective of an acoustic guitar player that leads a band. Like, no one does it like him.
That's true.
His style,
because even John Mayer doesn't lead a band like that.
Yeah, his style of playing the guitar. He's from South Africa, and you can just tell something not American about the way he plays the acoustic guitar.
Sure.
And then he's just got a killer band. Like same thing.
That's 100% true.
His team and the arrangement, like a live concert. There's a reason why when he goes to West Palm Beach, he does 2 shows. Yeah. Because he's not going to do the same set. Mm-hmm. He's going to play 2 hours of different songs and different arrangements, and the band's going to kill it. Mm-hmm. And they're awesome. And so Dave Matthews up there. Again, he's a jokey dude. People that hate on him, like, I get it. He's a weird or quirky, weird, awkward dude, but he kills it. He's a great musician.
It is funny to make those crash into me jokes. Yeah. Like, it's like the Nickelback of it all. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, we can sit here and make fun of Nickelback and how they're butt rock and you know, like how they shouldn't have been on the Spider-Man soundtrack. But at the end, you go into your car, you listen to that one Nickelback song that you like, and you just cry because at the end of the day, if they were a bad band, they wouldn't exist. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Fourth one's hard. There's the top heavy hitters, like the Michael Jacksons and the
Michael W. Smith. All the Michaels,
all the Michaels. But in my life, like my dad listened to Dave Matthews and my dad listened to Billy Joel.
Sure.
And Billy Joel was one of the first guys that I was like,
that's the world's Michael W. Smith.
Yeah.
that's the secular Michael W. Smith.
Man, like this guy is killing it.
Yeah,
my dad. I think he either had Piano Man or like a best of Billy Joel.
Yeah,
and it was awesome. And so when I moved to Chicago the second time to live there, I took all of my dad's records. Okay, and in that was every Billy Joel record.
I gave you a couple too.
Yeah, you did. I have a sad story. All my records got lost when I shipped them here.
Oh no, that's a really sad story.
I am beyond words.
Yeah.
It sucks. So, but every morning...
What did I give you? I gave you Leaving Through the Window, and I gave you something else.
You gave me a 21 Pilots record. Like a special record.
Yeah, their live record.
Yeah, that was really good in the shape of the state of Ohio.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
Yeah.
But for me, my a morning routine or a cleaning routine is I would put a Billy Joel record on and just clean or do dishes or do laundry, and then like it just, personally, I never ever got tired. Never wanted to skip a song. Like I had the Thriller album and. Great album. It's for sure, like, in terms of recording, like, that's one of the reasons why I bought this microphone that we're not using. Yeah. It's because Michael Jackson recorded Thriller on a Shure SM7B.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, like, the podcast microphone. Yeah. You know?
Podcasts weren't big, but it turns out I bought a lucky microphone.
There you go.
It just fits every situation. The Devil Wears Prada guitarist uses this on his amps.
On his amp?
Yeah. It's insane.
Does he use it to sing autotune? I'm Cody. I don't even know if his name is Cody, but I was thinking about this in the shower today because your brother was really into Demon Hunter. You remember? Because he liked them because I guess he read the Lifeway thing of like, hey, like Metallica, you might like Demon Hunter, and Demon Hunter is the only band in history, I think, and maybe I'm crazy, but it's like their guitar riffs say their name in the song. Like, for example, they have a song that's like, like every time I hear it, I just think, Demon Hunter, Demon Hunter, Demon Hunter, Demon Hunter. And I would do that to your brother, and he would laugh so hard. Yeah. Like, every single song says Demon Hunter in their freaking guitar riffs.
That's very funny. Yeah.
So, where can people find you online?
Yep. Most of my social media it's Jon here. Okay. ITSJONHERE. It's Jon here. And so follow me on Instagram and Twitter.
Cool. Yeah, so and go ahead and follow him, and you can listen to Jon play at live shows when you come see Mike Valdes and the Noise. You also have a record out as well, right?
I do. An old project called The Next Best Thing. My band is always going to be my brothers and my closest friends. So even
and to
though,
be fair, my band is always going to be your brothers and you.
So, you know, we're kind of talking through what the next phase of music is, because we'll never stop doing music. But
Yeah.
It's The Next Best Thing. The album, or EP, whatever you want to call it, is called Revival. And it's on SoundCloud and some other stuff. I'm sure if you just Google The Next Best Thing Revival,
Yeah.
you will find it.
And it has very, I would say it has very like early November riffs and you know like that kind of rock and roll, like that alternative rock and roll.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. You can find me at I am Mike Valdes on Twitter. I am at Mike Valdes on Instagram. You can also find me at whoismikevaldes.com for comedy shows, for Mike Valdes and the Noise shows, for all that kind of stuff. I'll announce like some cool stuff that I'm doing either on social media or, you know, in the intros of these podcasts, if to come see me live and things like that. That's our episode, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Hold on, it's not the end. You're just learning how